There is a conversation that we always have, but never really have. And even if we do have it, believe somebody is going to start preaching in that moment, and nobody's going to take anything home by the end of the day. You think you're better than me? Is the general attitude to when the conversation is had, but is had perhaps the wrong way. And that conversation is the conversation about the view once salary. The conversation about indoda must. The conversation about money, financial literacy. Let's dig in. So your first salary lands, and nobody really told you what to do with it. You pay what needs to be paid, spend what feels okay, and then wait for the next one. By the third month, you have the same feeling that your parents had, that money never quite goes far enough. That feeling is not inevitable, and it's not random. The person who understands their money knows what comes in every month to the rand. And they know what goes out. They know the difference between what they owe and what they own. Before they sign anything, they ask what the total cost is over the full term. They do not earn more than you. They just make decisions where you were reacting. The person who grew up without that financial language shows up differently. They open a clothing account at Eggers without reading the interest rate is at 38%. They take a short-term loan the week before payday because the gap is always there and they cannot quite name why. Their phone is on a 24-month contract and they have never calculated the total cost of the deal. They earn more than they did 5 years ago and somehow have less at the end of each month. That last one is the most common. Expenses grow to fill whatever income exists, unless someone actively interrupts that pattern. Let me repeat that. Your expenses grow to fill whatever income exists. That is a wild thing to think about if it applies to you. Unless someone actively interrupts that pattern. The FSCA found that only 51% of South African adults are financially literate. That's just a little over half. The average score across the country sits at 52 out of 100. Among black South Africans specifically, the figure drops to 35%. Whoa. These are people who grew up in homes where money was managed in the only way available to them, and who passed those same patterns forward without knowing another way that existed. But then there's a different kind of household. In that house, money is talked about in front of the children to normalize it, without making it a source of dread. We are saving for the holidays this year, so we're cutting back on takeaways in June. The child absorbs something no classroom ever teaches. Money has a purpose and direction, and it requires decisions. When that child asks for something and hears, "We cannot afford it right now," the parents will say the full sentence. They explain why. The child grows up knowing that affordability is a result of choices and eventually becomes someone who makes choices accordingly. You know, a conversation I had with one of my friends last week, he prompted me to go to listen to a 702 conversation about this topic. And he said what he took from it overall over the whole conversation is how money was addressed when we were young and we want something from our parents, and they would just say, "Anginayo imali." I don't have any money. And he emphasized the weight of that sentiment, which is saying you don't have money. You are normalizing the lack of it. That fact, that's what you have normalized. As opposed to, would you rather have this or save for that? Because I think, as your dad or as your mom or as your parents, we think that the money that we could use to buy you this toy would better work if we used it for that. And that's what we're saving for. That language creates a mental shift in how you perceive money just from how your parents addressed you about money. But that's just a side note. Back to the type of household that does this. They explain why the child grows up knowing that affordability is a result of choices and eventually becomes someone who makes choices accordingly. That child arrives at their first salary with a framework, imperfect maybe, but a present functional one. 12 million South Africans are currently over-indebted. 75% of adults who borrowed money in the past year used that credit card to cover basic things. Food, electricity, rent. When debt becomes a mechanism for surviving the month, it stops being a tool and becomes a way of life. And each year, close to a third of new clothing stores accounts are opened to people under 25. And belong to people under 25. The shift does not have to be dramatic, however. The steps include knowing what every debit order on your account is and what it costs. Find the ones you forgot were there. That's very important. And before signing any credit agreements, ask one question. What is the total cost over the full term? If they cannot tell you clearly, walk away. And lastly, but most importantly, talk to your children about money before life does it for them on its own terms. Because life will, hey? view one salary. Financial literacy spreads the same way financial ignorance does, through households, through the conversations that happen in the kitchen table, or the ones that never do. The person who learns how money works and teaches it to their children has already broken the cycle that most of us inherited without knowing it was a cycle. You do not have to be an expert on finances. You don't have to be an accountant, but you just need to know what's happening on your bank statement. And that thing of looking in the mirror is a serious one. You have to be the one who takes a step ahead of where you started. That step is enough to change the next generation's habits and what the next generation inherits. Is there a conversation about money that you wish you had in your household while growing up? And if so, how would that conversation start? What are the words of that conversation? Drop it in the comments. And that is it from me. Please subscribe to the Daily Development Dose, and I will be here again, and you will be hearing from me tomorrow. Sayonara!